the court proceedings will decide on the other docket. Then, I mean, if really the state has a case and is very sure that those people that are in the dock are the right people, with no doubt, then there is no need for 375. The prosecutor could have just said, you know what, 375 has no merit. Let's just close it. The state will prove that those people are involved in this murder. So that's what makes it very surprising for the public that the state has a strong case. Then why 375? That's our question of why a decision is not being made about 375. Why must we wait for the conclusion of these proceedings? There's a reason for that, because the state soon realized, even before the proceedings started, that the police investigation was very weak. And they possibly might even suspect that they might not have the right people. So that's where we get our confusion. If these people are the people that killed Senzo, they must be convicted. That's for sure. Right? But the concern is that there is this lingering question of what there's a doubt there that there might not be because of 375 now. And I think I must commend Advocate Tefo, although I had my reservations about him, and his behavior in court and court etiquette. I have to say that, what I liked about Tefo is that he used his experience as a previous police officer, and he did his own investigations, and that's how we came to know in court about his theory and his case right off the bat, of which we don't know what case the defense has in this. What is their theory of what happened? So we really, at this point, don't understand what the defense's theory is. Were the people in the house? Were there no people in the house? Because they're supposed to they're supposed to use these cross-examinations as a way to present their theory and present their case. But also, I'm not sure, I think, with the discourse that has been happening on the platform, we keep on being referred to the documentary. The documentary, colleagues, is not evidence. If the documentary had all the answers, we wouldn't have been in a trial. So I think, yes, the documentary has some clues and it adds to the current discourse that is going on about the case, of which it also presents its own theory of what happened in that house and how Senzo got shot. But it's not the holy truth or something that we must believe. But I do understand that this platform, people are, of course, free to advance their own views. But lastly, Pradeni, Zandi's testimony today, it was alternating between I know the person that went into the house and I don't know. It was alternating between I know and I don't know. It was I know but I don't know, because she once said that I described the features, but I didn't say I know who it was. And then she says I saw the face. So it was a whole lot. But to say that is immaterial, I think, is incorrect, because an identification of a suspect is one of the strongest evidence that can be entered into court. What I learned about the crime shows that I usually watch is that if a witness can pick out a suspect from a photo lineup, that's a strong witness. Can someone please mute? Who's unmuted? Butle M, can you please mute, Sissy? Okay, so if a witness can pick out a suspect from a photo lineup or from a photo parade, that is a very strong witness, and that's the type of witness that the prosecution knows that they can put up on the stand. But in this case, I don't think Zandi is that type of witness, because at this point, I don't know whether she says she saw the person. She sometimes says, I only know the features, I don't know the face, I saw the hoodie, I don't know the car. You see, all these important things that should be important, I don't think so. Yeah, I'll just end there, Pradeni. But Zandile and her attitude are not going to take her anywhere, particularly if this case surprisingly points us to 375. Thank you.
Before you go, don't go. Let's talk about the confusion around 375. Would you accept that confusion was not brought up by the state? The state was not confused. The state knew there was docket 375 out there when they took the decision to prosecute 636. And they requested docket 375. And the people who were investigating docket 375, they refused to hand over the docket, but that did not stop the state from proceeding with 636. Ultimately, 375 was brought, but not back to the state, but to T4. Now, that's one thing about docket 375. The state has not been bothered at all by the existence of that docket. And the response that they gave, it was as a result of an inquiry by T4. That's why they had to answer. NPA actually had to answer that we will consider that docket at the end of this trial. Right now, we are focused on 636. That's one thing that I want you to comment on. Then we'll get to the second issue.
Bradley, can I just comment just quickly on what you just said? I don't want to make this a dialogue, but yeah, I just want to say this is that, I mean, guys. No, I just wanted to, no, I want to say this. If the state is not worried about 375, where does that letter come from to say, no, the decision will be taken after the trial? Where does it come from? Doesn't it come from the NPA?
It comes from them.
So what is this now? The state and the NPA are one thing. So what do we mean when we say, no, the state is not worried about that, it's going to proceed with this, but the state and NPA are the same people that made the decision that, no, let's hold this off, let's wait for a decision on this trial. That's what's confusing, is that Baloyi, the NPA are one person, are one entity, which are saying two different things.
And there's no confusion there. There's no confusion.
Okay.
Okay, Kama, I wanted to give you an opportunity to debate, but you're saying you don't want a dialogue. I accept that, but I was giving you an opportunity to debate. I didn't have a problem with the dialogue because I think there is a self-created confusion. The state is not confused, guys. The state took a decision to proceed with the prosecution of docket 636, knowing there's another docket out. It did not bother them up until they brought it up in court. Docket 375 was brought by TIFO in court. And because there were questions that were being asked about it, NPA had to give an answer. And the answer NPA, as far as I'm concerned, does not communicate any confusion at all. So, Karma, if you still want to reply to what I'm saying, you are more than welcome to come back. And second to that, I wanted to ask you the second question, but now you felt that it would be a dialogue. And as a host of this live, I did not have a problem with the dialogue. I wanted us to engage so that people can be clear what we are talking about. The second thing that I wanted to bring to your attention is docket 375 does not have a murder weapon, guys. It does not have that evidence that you got on 636. How are you going to say Longwe killed Senzo without a murder weapon when you don't have a murder weapon? Docket 375 doesn't have that. Hence, I'm saying the state has never been worried about 375 at all. The confusion about 375 was brought by T4. And when somebody brings a confusion in court, somebody has to provide an answer. That's why NPA had to provide an answer because of the questions that were being raised by this. I hope people are following this. But yeah, Kama, if you still want to have a bite on this, you are more than welcome to come back. Goddess.
Hi, hello. How are you guys?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Hello, everybody. Hi, Brenda. Yeah, what I was going to say, this thing is just becoming a mess. First of all, I tend to agree with Karma somewhere, somehow. The gun, for me, my issue is the gun. The gun that was found in the one that the police claimed they found, was it not supposed to be in the police because it was held after a murder for a taxi boss somewhere? And the person who owns the gun was supposed to be in the cell as well. And then accused number 1 and 2 are the ones that they say they're supposed to be in the scene. So how does this thing add up then? For me, I feel like it was something that was rehearsed, because if the gun belongs to someone who was supposed to be in the cell, and the gun's supposed to be with the police, and the correctional services and the police are two different entities altogether, and then how do you make up that thing? It just doesn't add up. It will go back to, there was no intruder in the house. I still stand by that, honest. I feel like it was rehearsed, and because the gun and the people who commit, and then we ended up with 5 people on top of that. And the other issue is Kelly. She could not identify, so, which means there were no intruder at all. Because if she cannot point the person who was there, and then all of a sudden how can you identify someone that you did not see their features, according to her? So, to me, I feel like this whole thing, it was rehearsed, and then, obviously, the police are trying to clean up their mess, because first of all, they've arrested the guy who was cleaning Senzo's car. If we can recall, that was in the documentary. And that guy was arrested, who was pointed by Kelly's mom, of which she was in the house as well. So there's just going to be arresting everybody just because they want to hide this mess. And for me, with my theory, I feel like what you call Longwe came in the house. Obviously, there must have been some discrepancies between them and Senzo. And Kelly also, she still has resenting Senzo, because when they read that text, they still fell apart. Maybe when during that scuffle, if Kelly shot, it's either during that scuffle, she might have grabbed the gun and shot Senzo herself, and then Chico to clean his gun, they have to buy a police to get that gun that is inside with the police, because how do you explain the gun that is supposed to be with the police? So there is a mastermind with this. The gun to come out of the cell, and then you point it with someone who is in the cell already. But number 1 and 2, they were the one who were in the house. So this whole thing is a total mess, honestly. But I still stand that there were no intruders in that house. There were somehow, if they want to play the intruder thing, Kelly, she's involved in all. She's part of this mess. She knows who killed us. It's either her, or if they want to play the intruder way, she paid for those guys. So, because it doesn't make sense. It's not adding up at all. It's just not adding up. That's me voicing my opinion, honestly.
Thank you, Goddess. Skalosami.
Good evening, Pratini. Good evening, Brenda. Good evening to the panel. Good evening to the listeners.
Sure.
Yeah, how's Brenda?